Please open the scripture book first. Page 3. Page 3. Start from the last two characters on the 5th line of the scripture. Bodhisattva of wisdom. From this point, start with the Bodhisattva of few roots, Bodhisattva of nature, Bodhisattva of aspiration, and Bodhisattva of wisdom. The one in front. Bodhisattva of treasure. He said, "Cousin, and we should. How should we learn? Implement it in our daily lives." Last time, the I Ching was explained in great detail. Yet, the consciousness can express itself. Previously mentioned, the bed and time, this time, refers to the image. The treasure means that we should promote this Dharma method. As the world-honored one often teaches us in the scriptures, like to read, recite, uphold, and be familiar with it for others. These two bodhisattvas truly represent this meaning. Therefore, our fourfold assembly of disciples, no matter what kind of life we have lived before, or which industry we have worked in, we should all be role models for the public. Be a model for society, which is what the Bodhisattva expresses as right mindfulness. The intention. Supreme Bodhisattva. What he represents. In today's terms, it is high wisdom, perfect wisdom, supreme, wonderful wisdom. And so, the true benefits spoken of in Buddhism, to implement the lives that sentient beings lead. Troubles. We observe this. Society. Whether it is peaceful or not. Everyone has their own troubles. The noble have their noble troubles. The rich have the troubles of the rich. The poor have the troubles of the poor. They all live their days in troubles, yet feel very happy. This matter. Not just talking about this life. Countless all come from life after life. Might. This is exactly what people refer to as, no, there are 8 or 9 things that are bad. From this, we can say that things going as we wish only account for 1/10, if that. Looking ahead, the future is uncertain. Days of hardship like this, how long will they last? When will we see the light at the end of the tunnel? That depends on fate. What kind of fate? The fate of encountering Buddhism. there is fundamentally a connection to more. Only then can you achieve it. Perfection. This is what is mentioned in the Amitabha Sutra. It cannot be lacking in good roots, merits, and conditions. A birthday gift, the music is there and you have encountered it. Encountered Buddhism, encountered a minister, especially encountering the Infinite Life Sutra of the Pure Land School. This is an incredibly rare opportunity to act upon. After achieving this, can you change your life in this lifetime? That depends on your good roots and merits. If you have good roots and merits, your life will change immediately. The concept of leaving suffering and attaining happiness in Buddhism is not false. It's very realistic. Leave suffering now, attain happiness now. And it ultimately benefits suffering. Achieve perfect connection. How free is that? So we must ask, good roots and merits are the key. What is meant by good roots? Good roots are true nature. It's true understanding, which is comprehension. Understanding belongs to good roots. The practice is the merit of the Buddha. Do you have the luck to do it? If you have this willingness and are willing to follow through, you will gain great merit. From now on, you will no longer live a life of troubles. Live a life of high wisdom. This is what Buddhism refers to as transforming troubles into enlightenment. That's it. The Supreme Bodhisattva transforms aging into enlightenment, transforms our troubled life into a life of high wisdom. Then your life is truly indistinguishable from that of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Dharma body masters. Speaking of this, perhaps some fellow practitioners might ask, can we transform our poverty into wealth? Isn't poverty still poverty? But in poverty, one is no longer suffering, no longer troubled. What does it become? Poor yet content, poor and happy. That's freedom. If you don't believe it, take a look at the portrait of Master Zhiyun. We have it in our library. Master Zhiyun climbed Mount Tai 5 times. That was with true sincerity. Spread over 100. It took 3 years of bowing to cover thousands of miles. He went through many hardships along the way. When he was seriously ill and in great difficulty, with no one to help, a beggar came to assist him. He helped him several times. So the old monk was very grateful and asked him what his name was. The beggar said his name was Wenji, Wen as in article and Ag as in auspicious. Then he asked where he lived, and he said he lived at the foot of Mount Wutai. If you go to Mount Wutai, you might be able to meet him. Later, the old monk went to Mount Wutai and asked around. If there was a beggar named Wenji, everyone said, that's Manjushri Bodhisattva.
I think the Bodhisattva is delighted to be a beggar so incredibly happy.
Please, everyone, as the class ends, remember that the Buddha will definitely not help us increase greed, anger, and ignorance if we worship the Buddha, thinking it will bring us wealth or high positions. Then we're completely mistaken. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas won't help with those things. They help you awaken and understand the true nature of the universe and life. Awakened, caught in the net. An awakened person is at peace with whatever comes their way. That's called a life of higher wisdom, a life of higher wisdom, not wealth. Then worldly, riches and peace. A Buddha cannot help. And why can't he help? It's because of the law of cause and effect. If you didn't practice generosity, in your past life, you won't enjoy wealth in this life. If the Buddha could give it to you, wouldn't that break the law of cause and effect? How could there be such logic? Vague, profound, rituals, and the complex four aspects. Only the Buddha understands clearly. Only the Buddha comprehends fully. That's why the Buddha is called a sage. What does sage mean? The rituals of the temple of enlightenment, referred to as the essence. A complete understanding of the four aspects of the universe and life. What kind of cause leads to what kind of effect? So the Buddha teaches us, if you want wealth and honor, if you want longevity, to live a long life, Buddhism teaches you to cultivate your karma. If you cultivate the cause, the effect will manifest. If you are very earnest in cultivating the cause, very diligent, the effect will not wait for the next life. It will appear in this very life. So we must be diligent and make great progress. That's the way to go. Transform your own karma. The Buddha guides us, teaches us. We must do it ourselves. If we listen to the Buddha's teachings but refuse to follow them, there's no way to think about it. Our karma cannot be transformed, so it cannot be changed. If you truly understand the Dharma, you will be free and happy. Hey, once you live the life of a Buddha or Bodhisattva, you no longer live the life of an ordinary person. Why is that? You have wisdom, and where does wisdom come from? It comes from the precious bed of time. It comes from the practice of the teachings. So why? There are people with wisdom and blessings. Very clever and also blessed people. They still do foolish things. This etiquette is very profound. What karma causes these benefits? It's very frightening. When we carefully observe the events and occurrences, they all exist. We have seen them and even experienced them ourselves. The mind must be calm. One must decide to follow the teachings of Buddha and not go against them. You say, during the Tang dynasty, Emperor Taizong of Tang, among the emperors throughout Chinese history, he was a wise ruler whose greatest regret in life was becoming emperor, having killed his brother and his younger brother. This is also a blemish in his historical record. No one could deny his political achievements, but this particular point, no one backs it. The bond between siblings was lost. Then let's look at an example from the Qing dynasty, Emperor Yongzheng. The son of Emperor Kangxi. Yongzheng became emperor and killed all his brothers. It was also unacceptable. Can you say he lacked wisdom, lacked blessings, that he didn't understand Buddhism? He did understand. The Qing emperors were all devout Buddhists. How many mistakes were there to guide him? Karma, it's unfathomable. We have clarity in the realm of Buddha's teachings. Today, it's much worse than in the past. There's no emphasis on moral education. The West. This trend has infiltrated China, destroying China's ancient traditions. In the past, Chinese people received education from a young age. Loyalty, benevolence, love. Just right people received schooling. In the past, society valued morality, valued loyalty, virtue. Today, Western society talks about interests. Focusing on interests is problematic. Once there's power, people change their minds immediately. Morality disappears. This is something we can see everywhere now, most obviously in many companies. In the United States, there are quite a few professionals in these companies. When other companies find out, they try to poach them. If they offer you this much, I'll offer you a bit more. And you resign to work for them. They forget loyalty at the side of profit. This didn't happen in the past in China. No matter how high the offer, they wouldn't betray. People have feelings and people have morality. They wouldn't do this. But Western education considers it normal. We've seen it so much today that it seems normal to us too. It's easy to spread, easy to change one's mind. Just think, how can society not be chaotic? Everyone sees profit, and morality and righteousness are gone. Now that we're talking about this, we can't help but admire the Japanese. I truly admire the Japanese wholeheartedly, even though they bullied China in the past. Japanese society still has its principles today. Look at them when the company is in a very bad state. But the employees are reluctant to leave. They can't bear to leave, and they still want to support the company. They won't run off to other places. This is rooted in Chinese culture. They can still be conservative. When employees have complaints against their boss or the company, they protest, but they don't go on strike. They tie a white cloth on their head, and the boss immediately knows they have an issue and quickly holds a meeting to resolve it. They resolve it peacefully. They don't strike. It's not like overseas where if they are unhappy, they go on strike, and both sides end up losing. So today we can still see a bit of awareness in society, but apart from Japan, you can't see it elsewhere. This kind of morality, truly knowing gratitude and repaying kindness. But Western education, it's gone as well. He doesn't know when it changed. If you don't know what the root is, how can you talk about repaying kindness? That's out of the question. Even though the education of Buddhism is good, if one's good roots and merits are insufficient, He listens, but as soon as someone else says a few words, he doubts. Now, in this world, it's well said in the treatises, learning, thinking and speaking the Dharma is as numerous as the sands of the Ganges. You have a high level of wisdom. With the temptations of the 5 desires and 6 dusts outside, if you can remain unmoved, I often tell our internal students, then you're a bodhisattva returning. You're not an ordinary person. How can ordinary people not be moved? How can they not be tempted? So, being moved and tempted seems normal to us. The laws of the world and beyond are the same, right? If you encounter this situation and remain unmoved, then you are extraordinary. You're not an ordinary person. If you are an ordinary person, how can you not be moved? You are influenced by current education and see social trends. Naturally, you are influenced by it. Naturally, you are manipulated by it. So the only method we talk about in this scripture is practice. You need to understand how to protect yourself to achieve your spiritual path in this lifetime. You must live a life of high wisdom. It is definitely not about emotional entanglements. The foundation below. A few bodhisattvas. Only with high wisdom can one achieve deep meditation. Indeed, there is a bodhisattva who embodies the ultimate extinction. The great land realized in the realm of the Tathagata, as you often mention, hands the great land. Yavatamsika, the Huoyang Samadhi of the Jinshan family, for sons instructing 3 types of people, the fruition of the Tathagata, the great concentration on earth. The roots refer to the 6 roots. G is pure and secret. The concentration of extinction is even more profound than the silent concentration of a person. We often see it beyond people. The unborn concentration, that is already very deep. What the 7th, 8th, and 9th stage bodhisattvas have realized. The bodhisattva of stage 7 attains the 5th Dharma level, the 8th level, the middle level, the 9th level, and the upper level. Bodhisattvas of extreme extinction stage, 10th stage bodhisattvas, lower grade. Bodhisattvas are middle grade. Tathagata's fruition is supreme. Of course, these bodhisattvas here are all householders waiting to become bodhisattvas. So how could they be ordinary people? Therefore, this extinction state, at least, according to the king of humans, is often mentioned. It is mid-grade. The city is of the upper level. This is the middle level. You have already determined the bodhisattva's great path. Where's the power? From it comes from wisdom. Without supreme wonderful wisdom, how can you attain enlightenment? Extinction, prohibition, and concentration and wisdom complement each other. We must understand this principle. Concentration can help wisdom, and wisdom can help concentration. Wisdom is seeing through. What does seeing through mean? Understanding the true nature of reality. This is seeing through it. Secondly, it's about being within these 4 seasons of phenomena. You can remain unmoved. This is what is mentioned in the Diamond Sutra. Not clinging to appearances and remaining unmoved. Not clinging to appearances means not being attached to them. Externally attached to appearances and internally moving the mind. This is meditation. The deeper your meditation skills, the more it helps you see through. It means the truth of the matter becomes clearer, more understandable, and more thoroughly seen. The more thoroughly you see, the deeper your meditation becomes. Becoming Buddha. From the perspective of language, it means meditation is the root of wisdom. The meditation and wisdom we usually talk about are hard for everyone to understand. When thinking about this meditation and wisdom, it's probably not something ordinary people can learn, as it's seen as too deep, too mysterious. So, let's put it another way. Seeing through the direction many people understand. Seeing through the line, letting go is meditation. Seeing through means understanding the true nature of reality. Letting go means letting go of the delusions and discriminations of the mind. This is the root of all troubles, the root of nightly attacks. You see, Zen often talks about cultivating from the root, and this is no exception. We need to cultivate from the root, and what is the root? The root is the delusions and discriminations of the mind. We must let go of all delusions, discriminations, and attachments. Then you become a bodhisattva. You become a Buddha. These delusions, discriminations, and attachments are growing. It's a lot. With this growth, it's impossible not to create karma, and creating karma inevitably leads to consequences. This is something we must be aware of. The Buddha's teachings in the scriptures are earnest and sincere. We cannot treat them lightly. Think about it more. We need to take action. We must work diligently and earnestly. In the Buddhist community, the initial study of precepts is very simplified. Why is that? Because we are still naive. Just like a child. A 30-year-old child is still naive. Attending kindergarten. The teacher must teach them many rules. They need to be watched over to help them develop habits so they don't make mistakes, to build their foundation. Buddhism is no exception. Beginners must adhere to the values of the Buddha. Later on, when you have concentration and wisdom, then you can naturally take control yourself. The Buddha doesn't need to look after you so much anymore. So, among these bodhisattva names, the meaning and benefits are vast, boundless, and endless. The 16 bodhisattvas are all role models for us in the world to set an example. When we learn Buddhism, we should learn from them, follow their example. What if I don't understand the meaning of their names? If you don't understand what the scriptures say is all about, what the scriptures go on to say is,